Happy Friday, friends. On today's Locked On NHL, we've got a ton of games from last night to talk about, the NHL All Star selections to dissect, and a look ahead to the full weekend slate of games in the NHL.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On NHL. I am Rachel Donner from Locked On Flyers. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders. You can find him on Twitter at IceWars, NYIVSNYR. How are you doing today, Gil?
It is Friday. How bad could it be? It's
exactly.
How about you? How are you?
I'm doing all right. Still, disappointed from last night's Flyers game. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available on all of your podcasting platforms, and you can watch us over on YouTube. Like I said, a lot of action from last night that we want to talk about because it just seemed like the whole night was bonkers. Real quickly, though, before we get into those games, we do need to touch on the latest with Evander Kane. It is still up in the air whether or not he's going to be able to join another team due to the ongoing investigation into his COVID violation. So the NHL is looking into that. I think the more interesting thing to occur this week was the words of Connor McDavid when, it was brought up about him potentially signing with the Oilers, that Connor McDavid seemed to be okay with it and fully support it, and that, it's about what's happening on the ice and not what's happening off the ice, which I think took a lot of people aback a little bit,
Yeah, it's impossible to weigh in on that without upsetting some people. But yeah, I think Connor McDavid was just overlooking a little too much the way he went about it and what he said. And, I was a little disappointed in the way he approached it. But look, this saga still has to play out. We still don't even know when and if Kane is whether he's going to Edmonton at all, when he would be able to play if he did. So, I mean, McDavid would have been better off probably saying nothing under the circumstances.
Yeah,
but
you'll have to talk to Ken Holland about that.
Yeah, whoever the PR people are in Edmonton are probably busy schooling him right now on how to approach a situation like this. But yeah, it's a mess, and I didn't like the response. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled either. I think you're spot on that saying nothing would probably have been the better course of action for him. All right, moving on to last night's slate of games. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off and talk about Boston versus the Flyers just to get through it. Got to get through it. But of course, David Pastrnak got a hat trick in that game the day after Brad Marchand got a hat trick. So they're doing pretty well. The Flyers tried to mount a comeback, wound up losing 3-2. And I think a large part of the reason why they weren't able to really, complete that comeback was the return of Tuukka Rask. And, he had not been in net in well over a year. Looked like he was in mid-season form, I gotta say, making 25 saves in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Tuukka's a veteran, and for Bruins fans especially, it's like getting an old friend back and seeing them for the first time in more than a year. It just feels right on a certain level. I mean, I know your Flyers paid the price last night, but it feels right to see Tuukka Rask between the pipes for the Boston Bruins. And Boston's been playing very good hockey as of late. And, they're holding on to that final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, and it's not going to be easy for them, but getting Tuukka Rask back is certainly something that could help them capture that last spot or maybe even move up a little bit in the standings.
Absolutely. And I do have to say, everything that Boston has done to support Kevin Hayes has been tremendous. So absolutely have to give him and Brad Marchand credit, which does not make me happy to say, but he's honestly been really good supporting the family. And, I could not be more appreciative on the Hayes family's behalf.
Absolutely.
Moving on to a huge surprise, I think, from last night, Carolina versus Columbus. Columbus blanking the Hurricanes 6-0. Yegor Chinakhov, 2 goals. Both of them were beautiful, but I think the second one that was a backhand, just gorgeous. Patrick Laine had a bomb, and man, Freddie Anderson just looked out of sorts.
Yeah, very, very much so. And 6-0. I mean, how often do you win 6-0 on the road against a good team like the Carolina Hurricanes? So a very big win for Columbus. And look, sometimes as far as Carolina goes, you just come out flat, and Columbus made all the plays in that game.
They did. I think one of the keys to their victory there was really good puck support offensively, that when you saw that they were getting pressure or there was a breakout, there was always a trailer there, or there was somebody else moving net front if another player got pushed off. I just thought they did a really good job doing that throughout the game. And then, of course, they got a tremendous performance from Elvis Merzlikins in net. He made some spectacular saves.
When he is on, he is so much fun to watch. He really is.
He really is. We're going to talk about him a little bit later in the show, I think, when we're talking about guys you want to see getting a showcase.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When he is on, he is great to watch.
He really is. The Battle of the Kachucks happened last night. Ottawa against Calgary. Ottawa was victorious 4-1. And there was like a little bit of shenanigans going on between them over the course of the game. There was definitely some smack talk and, little stick action happening in the game as well. I always love it when brothers play. I will talk about this till the ends of the earth, but I love it when brothers play against each other.
Oh, so do I, because I could always picture them on, in the basement when they were like 7, going against each other. And it just adds another dimension to the game. And Calgary, I'll tell you, they are struggling right now, and they are watching their playoff hopes slowly get worse and worse if they don't turn it around soon.
It is starting to get a little concerning. On the flip side, though, I think it was really good to see Matt Murray get a win in net. I think it'll be really good for his confidence. His road over the last couple of years has been very rocky. So I'm glad to see him get an NHL start here. Likewise. I think the real star of that game, though, was Nick Paul. 2 goals in the first period. And that was definitely one of the more fun games. I think the more controversial game was the Habs versus the Blackhawks. Chicago wound up winning that game 3-2 in overtime. Patrick Kane ending a 13-game goal drought in that one. But I think the main story of that game was that weird overtime goal from Kurashev, where there was, I think, 2 layers of controversy to it, with the offside call, as well as, Kurashev getting hit by Hoffman going into the net, and they had to use the puck crossing the line and with the net as if the net was in its place when it got knocked off.
Yeah, that's like a double judgment call, so it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But, the Canadiens, boy, how much lower can they go?
I don't know. That was just some terrible luck on their part. They really look like they could have had this game too.
Yeah. I mean, look, they got a point, which is something when you're struggling as badly as they have been. But that's a tough loss to take.
Yeah. not as much going on as far as the details, but Tampa did win against the Canucks 4-2. So now they're in that top spot in the Atlantic for now. And LA over Pittsburgh 6-2. That was pretty unexpected to me.
Yeah, that was, and another solid game for Jonathan Quick. And what was it? 5 goals in the third period in that game.
Yeah, it just came on like a storm.
It's like, yeah, you flip the switch and the tidal wave just comes right in. And there were the LA Kings. And I'll tell you, the Kings have been a pleasant surprise this season.
They really have. They're a lot of fun. And I think the last year and a half, we've been talking a lot about their prospect pool and how strong their system is. And we're starting to see some of it come to fruition along with the vets stepping up. And the Kings are a team that I want to keep an eye on a little bit more, as we're heading into the home stretch. I feel like it's weird. We're like halfway through the season already, Gil.
Well, yeah, most teams are in the 30-somethings games played.
Yeah,
so yeah, we're getting to that halfway mark. And I like the mix the Kings have. You still have some familiar faces. I mean, Jonathan Quick, it's like he stepped into a DeLorean and now all of a sudden he's found the 2014 version of himself. You're still getting Anze Kopitar putting in, some at least over the course of the season, getting the job done. And yet, as you mentioned, some of the younger players are stepping up, and that nice mix of veterans and youth is what's getting them into contention out in the Pacific right now.
Well, we will be talking more about them, I am sure. But speaking of that halfway point, that usually means the All Star Game, which is happening this year, and we'll be talking about that next.
Yeah, absolutely. And that should be good. But first, before we get to that, it's the new year. So that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or getting healthier, or eating healthier, make sure you put Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars, they could be chalky or waxy or even taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it gets so boring. And by week 3, you may be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and most Built Bars contain only 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, but 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And there's so many flavors to choose from: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream. My personal favorite, the salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check out Built.com to see what's new. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15. You'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. So the All Star Game is February 4th and 5th in Las Vegas. We've got that skills competition on the 4th, the game on the 5th. They're doing their usual 3-on-3 tournament. But I want to talk about the most important aspect of the All Star Game, Gil, and that's the jerseys. What did you think about the jersey reveal?
Yeah. I mean, they're there. They're okay. They're nothing outlandish, but nothing terrible. Not great, not terrible. They're fine, I guess, is overall. What about you?
I really like them a lot. I think they're very classic, and I love the chevron stripe look. That makes me really happy. It kind of harkens back to, your 80s, 90s look, and without them trying too hard, which I think they have done over the last 5 to 7 years. They've just been, they've been hit or miss. Like, some of them have been good, but this one just is clean. It's classic. I think I like the blue one a little bit better than the white one. I think the white one is the East and the blue is the West, but I do like the burgundy color that they used as well. So it'll be fun to see those out on the ice.
It will be, and I enjoy the All Star Game. I can't take it seriously, as in it's not a competitive hockey game, really. It's more like a game of shinny. But
Right.
it's fun for what it is, and that's just to see the players, some of the best players in the game, in a lighthearted moment, enjoying each other's company and having fun while trying to show off. So yeah, it's a nice little midseason break, and I just hope the NHL can still get it in and not cause any more difficulties with COVID. It would be very bad to see, 10 of the best players in the league all of a sudden have to sit out.
Ugh. Knocking on wood that does not happen. Well, the captains, of course, were chosen by the fan vote. So we have Austin Matthews in the Atlantic, Ovi in the Metro, Nathan McKinnon in the Central, and Connor McDavid in the Pacific. No surprises there.
Absolutely none, but solid picks.
Yeah, so good job, fans. It's a secret cabal of people that vote on the rest of the players. And I think, there were some solid selections, but also maybe some snubs. So I think, who do you think was maybe the biggest snub?
Oh boy, the biggest snub. You know what? As much as it pains me to say it, maybe Igor Shesterkin of the Rangers, I think, kind of deserved to be on that team. I mean, look, it's, Tristan Jarry and Frederick Anderson definitely deserving. It's hard to argue with that, but it's also hard to argue with Shesterkin and what he's accomplished this year.
Absolutely true. It's also hard because I think as fans, sometimes you want more fun players versus maybe the best players. And because of the requirement of having one player from each team, you're not going to get the best players no matter what. So in my opinion, I think you just want the most fun players, the up and coming players. So I think, for me, the two snubs that bothered me the most were Nazem Kadri and Trevor Zegras.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, Kadri is having a banging season this year and is one of the top league scorers at the moment. And for him to not be included, and he's a dynamic personality, so he'd be a lot of fun out there. And Trevor Zegras is, taking the league by storm. He's part of this surprise Ducks team. He had that fancy alley-oop goal. And so I think he would be really good to have at the game. I know they're trying to find a place for rookies to get included somehow, and maybe they'll have some announcement about that at some point. But I think for me, those are the biggest ones. But
yeah. And Zegras is going to be there for a long time. I think this may be the last year in the next 10 that we don't see him, based on scouting reports and the skills that he has been showing off. But he definitely deserves to be. It is tough when you have to have one player from every team, because so many deserving players are just not going to get named to the All-Star team as a result.
It's also a little weird because that a lot of these guys don't want to get picked because they just want the weekend off. And it just makes the whole thing awkward.
It does. It's one of those things where it's almost like you want to be picked, but you don't want to play. It's like, I want the honor, but I don't necessarily want to go. And that's sort of a strange juxtaposition.
I do secretly want to have somebody drop, maybe from the Pacific Division, so Quinn Hughes can get in there. So we have Jack and Quinn at the game.
What was that?
I want to see somebody on the Pacific Division drop so that we get Quinn Hughes added from Vancouver, so that both Jack and Quinn Hughes are at the game.
Yeah, that would definitely add another level of fun to this game, and use both of them. Certainly, you can make a very strong case that they both belong.
Yeah, I also wish there was a way to get Elvis Merzlikins in. I think he's somebody that would be a lot of fun here.
Definitely would be a lot of fun, but where would you put him among goalies in his division? Fourth?
That's I know. That's the tough part. about it. Again, I'm in it for the fun and for the mic'd up moments.
Yep. And
So
he would be good. Yeah.
he would. Now, they are doing the last man in ballot again this year. So it's another fan vote where you select one person from each division who didn't make the cut, and they will get added to the roster. And I absolutely love that in the Metropolitan Division, Jake Voracek and Cam Atkinson are on that list, and having gotten traded for each other in the off season.
Yeah, there's an irony there.
There is. Mika Zibanejad is also on the list, and Andrei Svechnikov is on that list as well. So one of those two might be more deserving, but honestly, if I had to choose, it would be Jake Voracek, because he just has the personality and he's having an amazing season. So it wouldn't be undeserved. And I think that he would just bring an element to the weekend that they sorely need.
It would be a lot of fun to have him there on that level. Yeah, absolutely.
I think in the Atlantic Division, for me, for the last man in, I'm thinking I want Charlie McAvoy. I think he's the right one. Barkov is also a good option, but
very good option. But
yeah, I think it's really between those two. But I just like what Charlie McAvoy has been able to put together this season.
I like McAvoy as well. I mean, Barkov is such a talent. It is hard to ignore him too. That's a tough vote. That's a very tough vote.
In the Central Division, I got to go for Nazem Kadri again, because he was my big snub in there. But I think, Phil Kessel is on the list, and he's also fun personality-wise, even if you don't think he necessarily deserves it. But you can also, Roman Josi is on that list, and I might get guilted into voting for him as well, because he's having a great season.
He is. He really is. He's very, very much a big part of carrying that team offensively from the blue line. So, yeah.
In the Pacific Division, I don't know. It is a tough one. I mean, I want to say Matthew Tkachuk, again, just from a brother standpoint, but, Jonathan Marchessault is on that list. Logan Couture is on that list. I think they've both done all-star worthy performances so far this year. So I don't know. I think that's the toughest choice for me, is in the Pacific Division.
It is a tough choice. And, again, these all-star game things, it's so difficult to limit that roster down. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the Pacific. But you know what? Making it a fan vote makes it fun, and it kind of shows you're not taking this too seriously as far as the league goes. So I like it. Get the fans involved, get the players that fans want to see in the game, and let's just have some fun.
Yeah. I didn't even ask you, were you pleased with the Islanders representative?
I was.
Adam Pelech?
I think everybody was expecting Matthew Barzal, and you sort of say, well, this is a recording because everyone thinks that he's going to go. But right. I like the idea of recognizing a defensive defenseman, a guy who isn't going to put up big numbers on the stat sheet, but if you watch him game in and game out, he belongs in the All-Star game. There are not too many shutdown defensemen who do as good a job as he does.
Can't argue with that. I was pleased in the theoretical sense with the selection of Claude Giroux. I think he is the guy that you pick. It was him or Carter Hart from the Flyers. But I also want Claude Giroux to have a nice weekend at home with his family, because he deserves it.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
So, both happy and sad for him if he winds up having to go. He'll make it fun, though. He always does. And he's actually really good in the skills competition in terms of the accuracy shots. So I always look forward to seeing him in those. Do you have a particular division that you think is the most stacked?
Oh, boy. I'm thinking the Atlantic Division is pretty stacked, but this is going to be a tough one. What about you? Which division do you think?
I keep looking at that Pacific Division with Draisaitl, Gaudreau, McDavid, Timo Meier, Mark Stone, Petrangelo, Demko and Gibson in net. Like, that's going to be tough.
It is. It is. There's a lot of talent in this league, and that I think is the underlying thing to watch.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there will be some betting lines that will come up about this game as it gets closer. And if you're going to bet on the All Star game, the place to go is Bet Online. Bet Online would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. Bet Online remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and they've got a new updated desktop and mobile website. So sign up today and you'll receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait and take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Gil, before we get into the weekend slate of games, just want to talk a little bit about a special moment in that Kings game we talked about earlier in the show. And the Ontario Reign, the AHL affiliate of the LA Kings, had to send their head athletic trainer to the Kings for the game. And that trainer is Aisha Visram. And it is believed by the Trainers Association to be the first woman to work a regular season NHL game from the bench in any capacity. So, wow. First of all, that's ridiculous that that's the first, but congratulations to her. She has a tremendous background from what I understand, and it's well-deserved. And what a moment for her.
Yeah, no, it's long overdue, and it's good to see. And hopefully, now that this barrier has been breached, it will be the first time, but far from the last.
I certainly hope so. There's been some people mentioned in interview processes for some of the open GM positions, including a lot of women. And so I'm hoping that some of that comes to fruition, and we'll see more and more in the front offices and behind the bench.
I hope so as well.
Looking ahead to tonight, I think, Panthers versus Stars is the game you're going to want to watch, right?
Yeah, Panthers versus Stars is a good one. And, Florida quietly playing some very, very good hockey. And they are a team that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think deserves a lot of respect, overcoming a coaching change that they probably didn't want to do earlier this season and still playing winning hockey in Dallas. Kind of my dark horse, in the Western Conference, that a team that gets overlooked a little bit, but they're not an easy out by any stretch of the imagination.
They're not. And, I think they're as all in as they're going to get this season. And with, like we talked about earlier in the show, Tampa taking that top spot, the Panthers are going to want to leapfrog them back into the top spot in the Atlantic. The Stars, again, just trying to do everything they can to make a run this year. So I think that'll be a fun game.
Should be a good one.
Saturday, there is a real nice slate of games to choose from. And I think you're going to want to start your day in the afternoon with the Nashville Predators at the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, that should be a good game. And Boston's on a little bit of a roll lately. And now that Tuukka is back, as we talked about before, although I don't know if he'll be playing tomorrow, but I think their prospects are looking up as they fight for one of those final playoff spots. And have there been too many teams that are a bigger surprise than Nashville? I don't think too many people expected them to be in the fight for first place in their division either.
Certainly not me, but it's been fun to watch. They have just this confidence about them now, and they're playing as a team. And I like to take every opportunity I get to watch this team right now.
They are
I
fun
think,
to watch.
yeah, I think for the rest of the day, my other two games, first off, Stars at Lightning. So the Stars will be on the second half of a back-to-back against a real tough Lightning team. So this pair of games for them is going to be super important.
It is. And, you're talking about those visits to Florida for any team right now when you have to play both the Panthers and the Lightning, whether it's back to back or even.
It happens all the time. It's so frustrating.
It's a gauntlet. It's really a
Yeah.
gauntlet. These are two darn good teams.
Yeah. And then I think the marquee matchup is Leafs at Blues.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And this one's in St. Louis. Toronto usually at home on a Saturday night, not this week. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a fun game. I mean, Toronto is always entertaining to watch. And, the Blues are kind of a team that quietly are doing very, very well.
I'm going to be a terrible person and try and jinx the Leafs here, or maybe it'll have the opposite effect. But it is not out of the realm of possibility that this could be a Stanley Cup final matchup.
No, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And well, all I have to do is say one word that'll drive, Maple Leafs fans crazy, and that's 1967.
I wasn't going to quite go that far.
Those fans, they have been longing for, even just a return to the Cup final for so long. And, who would have expected that the Maple Leafs would go more than 50 years without the last time the Maple Leafs were in the Stanley Cup final and won it, there were 6 teams in this league.
Mm-hmm. So luckily, I'm not quite old enough to remember those days.
I don't remember that year either, but yeah.
All right. On Sunday, there's just the Canucks at Washington. So just one game for us to focus on that day. But I think that will do it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. Gil, what you got going on with Locked On Isles and the Monday show?
Well, Islanders are playing Washington on Saturday, so we'll certainly have a recap of that. And then I think we have a home and home Monday and Tuesday with some team that
I don't
know. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll have to regroup next week in the aftermath of the home and home. There was a rescheduled game. It was supposed to just be one game, but the league rescheduled it. So the Flyers are in New York on Monday, and then the Islanders go down to Philly on Tuesday. So that should be pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, should be good. And, we'll keep it friendly,
Absolutely.
How about you? What do you have for Locked On Flyers?
Well, before that home and home against the Islanders, we faced the New York Rangers on Saturday night. And, we talked before we started recording that they weren't as deep as their record would suggest that they are. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for the Flyers to win, but we will certainly be talking about it on Locked On Flyers on Monday.
Excellent.
I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at @rmiriam. Gil Martin is on Twitter at Ice Wars NYIVSNYR. You made us your first listen today. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling.